All right, so Purym. We're gonna first lay a foundation concerning this and kind of re-emphasize what we talked about yesterday about it being about the Yahudim and about how Hasatan, since the beginning of time, has been after the seed of the woman, which we know is the 12 tribes. But when you narrow it down, it is specifically the tribe of Judah, the one whom from Yahushua HaMashiach would come, the one from whom our deliverance would come, and the tribe of Judah, the one that would crush his head. So Hasatan has established these four beast systems to persecute the Yahudim specifically. So the first beast being Babylon. Let's go to the book of Daniel and let's see what could we eat off of the persecution of our people in the book of Daniel during the first beast with Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon. Hallelujah. So what we're going to do is see that it was during this first beast where they started making up laws, decrees, laws, and they were specifically aimed for us. And then how our people overcame, and then how our people were rewarded for overcoming. Hallelujah. So starting off in Daniel chapter 3, let's look at this, because it is through these four beasts that we can see what is coming in the future. Hallelujah. Daniel chapter 3, verse 1. Nebuchadnezzar, the sovereign, made a image of gold, whose height was about 60 cubits, and its width 6 cubits. And he set it up in the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon. And the sovereign, Nebuchadnezzar, sent the word to gather together the victories and the nobles and the governors and the counselors and the treasurers and the judges and the magistrates and all the officials of the province to come to the dedication of the image of the sovereign Nebuchadnezzar, which he had set up. Then the victories and the nobles and the governors and the counselors and the treasurers and the judges and the magistrates and all the officials of the provinces gathered together for the dedication of the image that sovereign Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And they stood up before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Look, then a herald loudly proclaimed, "To you it is commanded, O peoples and nations and languages, that as soon as you hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipes, and all kinds of instruments, that you shall fall down and do obeisance to the image of gold that sovereign Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And whoever does not fall down and do obeisance is immediately thrown into the midst of the burning furnace of fire." Hallelujah. So there you had his counselors, his his senators and all of those kind of government officials make this decree that whoever did not bow down and do obeisance at the sound of the music was to be thrown in the fiery furnace. And so you know that our ancestors, we don't bow down to no image. So there goes the first piece of meat we can eat on, is that we do not bow down to nothing. We don't bow down to nothing but Yahuwah Elohim. We will not bow down. And so the second thing is this, is that they are going to come up with legal laws to cause us to do it. To cause, now if you look, it's starting off broad that whoever doesn't do it. But when you get to Daniel, it's going to get specifically aimed towards us. So we know that our ancestors wouldn't do it. Now let's see how they replied. So they was brought before Nebuchadnezzar, and he asked them, why you ain't bowing down like the law says? Skipping down to 16. And they answered, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the sovereign, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. You hear that? For if so, our Elohim, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning furnace of fire and from your hand. O sovereign, he does deliver. That is weapons of war right there that you can apply to anything. We don't have to answer. We don't have to give answers to the things that's coming up, but stand on the word. Our Elohim, our power, is able to deliver us from your hands and from your father, because he does deliver. His name is Yahusha, and Yahusha means Yahuwah delivers. Number 18. But if not, if he doesn't deliver us, let it be known to you, O sovereign, that we do not serve your false god, nor do we do obeisance to the image of gold which you have set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with wrath, and the expression of his face changed toward Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And he responded and gave orders that they heat up the furnace 7 times more than it was usually to heat it. And he commanded some of the strongest men of his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to throw them into the burning furnace of fire. So these men were bound in their coats and in their trousers and in their turbans and their other garments, and were thrown into the midst of the burning furnace of fire. Thereupon, because of the sovereign's order was urgent, the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed some of those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the midst of the burning furnace of fire. Then the sovereign Nebuchadnezzar was amazed and stood up in haste and spoke and said to his counselors, Did we not throw 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? And they answered and said to the sovereign, O certainly, king. And he answered and said, Look, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire. They are not hurt. And the form of the 4th one is like the son of Elohim. Hallelujah. Yahusha, he is with us. Stand bold in the times to come, like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These are not stories that we read. These are stories that we eat on in order to survive what's coming. And that we give esteem and reverence to them for enduring such things and showing us how to. Hallelujah. Then Nebuchadnezzar went near the mouth of the burning furnace of fire, and he spoke and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the servants of the Most High, Elohim Yahuwah, come out and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came from the midst of the fire. And then the victories and the nobles and the governors and the sovereign's counselors gathered together, seeing these men on whose body the fire had no power, and the hair of their head was not singed, nor were their garments changed, nor did the smell of fire come up on them. And Nebuchadnezzar responded and said, Blessed be the Elohim of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his messenger and delivered his servants, whom trusted in him, and changed the sovereign's order, and gave up their bodies, that they should not serve nor do obeisance to any other Elohim except their own Elohim. The reward, what we're going to see is every time in these stories people persevere and endure, they are rewarded. Think about Joseph. Once he persevered and endured, he was rewarded with second in command under Pharaoh. There's always reward for us enduring. Let's see what he did to these three young men who stood strong and holding on tight to their power in the midst of the fire. 29. Therefore, I make a decree that whoever of any people, nation, or language who speaks any wrong against the Aluah of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, his limbs shall be taken, and his house be made a dunghill. This is Nebuchadnezzar speaking, because there is no other Aluah, there is no other Elohim, no other power who is able to deliver like this. The declaration and now the reward. Then the sovereign Nebuchadnezzar promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babel. They got promoted. They got promoted for overcoming. Barak Yahuwah. So what do we eat out of the first beast? That unfair laws are coming. Unfair laws are coming. Hallelujah. Turn to number 6, chapter 6. Now let's look at another thing in the first beast. Daniel in the lion's den. Daniel chapter 6. And it pleased Darius to appoint over the reign 120 victories to be over all the reign, and over them 3 governors, of whom Daniel was one, so that these victories should not give account to them, and the sovereign suffer no loss. And this Daniel distinguished himself above the governors and the victories because of an excellent spirit, because an excellent spirit was in him. And the sovereign had planned to appoint him over all the reign. So, because his spirit was different in him, Darius liked this man. And he had plans in the future to make him top over everybody under him. And so the rest of these people seeing this, and they got jealous. They envied. So remember, as we're reading this, we're looking for things that are going to be happening, things that we look forward to come to pass in the future, and how to overcome. Hallelujah. Number 4, then the governor and the victory sought to find accusation against Daniel, the Yahudi, concerning the reign, but they were unable to find occasion or corruption, because he was steadfast, and no negligence or corruption was found in him. He was perfect. Then these men said, we shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, unless we find it against him concerning the law of his Elohim. So they know where to attack us concerning what we stand fast on, which is our word. Didn't they do the same thing with the Maccabees? They knew that we wasn't going to fight on the Shabbat, so they waited when to attack on the Shabbat. Number 6, then these governors and victories tremendously gathered before the sovereign and said to him, Sovereign Darius, live forever. And all the governors of the reign and the nobles and the victories and the counselors and the advisors have consulted together to establish a royal decree to make a strong interdict that whoever petitions any other Alua or man for 30 days, except you, O sovereign, that one is to be thrown into the den of lions. O sovereign, establish the interdict and sign the writing, so that it is not to be changed according to the laws of the Medes and the Persians, which does not pass away. So one thing we're noticing about the Medes and the Persians that ties into Esther, that once that king signs a law, he can't do nothing about it. So then he has to go by other means to help us. So just Darius is gonna, hey Daniel, you gotta pray. I can't do nothing about it. And so in that same way, the king in the book of Esther couldn't do nothing about it. But he helps us and goes with us to find a way out. Because both Darius and that king in the book of Esther got deceived into signing something. So what do we look for in the future? Tricks and laws are going to be signed. Somebody might deceive this president into signing some law that he don't really understand the repercussions of. And then once it's signed, here we go. He signed the written interdict. And Daniel, when he knew that the writing was signed, he went home, and in his upper room with his windows open towards Yerushalayim, he knelt down on his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his Eluah as he had done before. Ain't nothing gonna stop me. So not only did he hear the law and he waited for it to be written, but he got kind of bold with it and opened up the window and let everybody see. Let everybody see. I serve the Elohim who created the heavens and the earth. What can man do to me? Then these men tumultuously gathered and found Daniel praying and entreating before his Elohim. And they approached the sovereign and spoke concerning the sovereign's interdict. Have you not signed the interdict that every man who petitions any Eluah or man within 30 days, except you, O sovereign, is to be thrown into the lion's den? And the sovereign answered and said, the word is certain, according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which does not pass away. Then they answered and said before the sovereign, Daniel, who is one of the sons of the exiles from Judah, pays no heed to you, O sovereign, nor the interdict that you have signed, but makes his petitions anyway 3 times a day. Then the sovereign, when he had heard these words, was greatly displeased with himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. Then these men tumultuously gathered before the sovereign and said, know, O sovereign, that it is the law of the Medes and the Persians that any interdict or decree which the sovereign established is not changed. Then the sovereign gave orders, and they brought Daniel and threw him into the den of lions. But the sovereign spoke and said to Daniel, your Elohim, whom you serve continually, he himself delivers you. So in the future, when we are thrown into the spiritual lion's den, when we are thrown into the spiritual furnace of fire, we gotta be as are these are Yahudi men. These are Yahudis. These are Yahudim. And so today we read and pick the meat off of it so that we are able to endure the things that are coming and operate in the same ruach that our forefathers did. And also give them thanks for enduring for us so that we might live. Hallelujah. He said to Daniel, your Elohim, whom you serve continually, he himself does deliver you. And a stone was brought and laid on the mouth of the den, and the sovereign sealed it with his own signet and the signets of his great men, that the situation concerning Daniel might not be changed. And the sovereign went to his palace and spent the night fasting. And no entertainment was brought before him, and his sleep fled from him. And the sovereign rose up early in the morning and hurried to the den of lions. And when he came to the den, he called with a grieved voice to Daniel. The sovereign spoke and said, "O Daniel, servant of the living Elohim, has your Elohim, whom you serve continually, been able to deliver you from the lions?" Then Daniel said to the sovereign, "O sovereign, live forever. My Elohim has sent his messenger," the same messenger that was sent to our brothers in the fiery furnace, the same messenger that he will send to us in our time of need. Eat the meat, chew it, digest it, let it get into your system. These times are approaching us. As you see, he changes not. 22, my Elohim sent his messenger and shut up the lion's mouth, and they did not harm me. Why? Because I was found innocent before him and also before you, O sovereign. I have done no harm. Are you innocent? Do you got clean hands? Do you got a pure heart? Are you in right standing with Yahuwah? In order to file the petition for these acts, but greater. Then the sovereign was very glad and gave orders that Daniel be taken out of the den. And Daniel was taken out of the den, and no harm was found on him. Why? Because he trusted his power. He trusted his Elohim. And the sovereign gave orders. And they brought those men who had accused Daniel and threw them in, and their children, and their wives, threw them all into the den of lions. And the lions overpowered them and broke all their bones into pieces before they even reached the floor of the den. Tore their butts up before they even hit the ground. Hallelujah. Then sovereign Darius wrote to all the nations and peoples and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be increased to you. From before me is made a decree that throughout every rule of my reign, men are to tremble and fear before the Elohim of Daniel. For he is the living Elohim and steadfast forever. And his reign, Yahuwah, is one which is not destroyed, and his rule is unto the very end. Yahuwah, he delivers and rescues. He works signs and wonders in the heavens and on the earth. For he has delivered Daniel from the power of the lions. The reward. And this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and in the reign of the Koresh in Persia. He will always reward us. He will always reward us for standing fast. Barak Yahuwah. So that was during the time of the first beast into the second beast. And so what did we learn? That laws are coming. Laws are coming. And that these laws that are coming are actually trickery. They're trickery. And they're going to cause men who might not understand the trickiness and the craft to sign laws against us. Because if you read this one, they knew specifically they was going for Daniel, the Yahudi, and they made sure that they said that. Hallelujah.